Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And you're probably wondering why I have gotten all my books down from my bookshelf. And great question. I wanted to do a little book talk with me. Book talk. T-A-L-K. I think I just had to do that for myself. So I just wanted to get started. I have been reading for about a year now, and so far I think I've read like 35 books, which in my opinion is good. I'm gonna grab the first book I read, officially finished, One of Us is Lying by Karen M. If I could speak that right, Karen M. McManus. I did annotate this honestly for no apparent reason. I think I saw a lot of people doing it, and I wanted to do it. I was like, oh, that's be cool if I annotated it. And I did. I enjoyed this book a lot. I would rate this. I think on my Goodreads I rated it 5 stars. But now I think of it, like 4.5, 4 stars. Because it's good, but like I don't like me. I want to reread this, but I don't have like a major desire like some of the other books on my pile. But it's about 5 people. You got the brains, you got the bronze, you got the druggie, you got the popular girl, and the gossiper. They all have to go to detention. And only 4 leave. Does it say who? What happens? Hold up. So he dies while in detention, and it looks like the teacher. It looks like the 4 kids could possibly have planned this, and they're like, "We did not plan this. This was never. We didn't care." I mean, he did post that crazy stuff, but we knew better than to maybe even do it because he would just post like outrageous things if you ever messed with him. So the police are trying to figure out who it is, and they are trying to find out because they know that someone has purposely made it look like they did it. So I would recommend this to someone who wants to get into reading or wants to get into a genre of murder mystery thriller, because it's very YA, very easy. If you're not a YA fan, I wouldn't read it, but if you like, I can read YA, I like YA, if you're just into YA, I would totally read this. Like, I really like this. I remember waking up and just sitting on my cousin's couch when I got it and just reading it. And my littlest cousin was like, oh, Maisie's reading on the couch again. And I would tell him I thought my plans were. And I remember just sitting in her room, finishing it and being like, oh my gosh, like, that was a really good book. And so, yes, my first book I read, I don't remember when I started it, but I would totally recommend this. This was a great first book. So we'll start a stack. Ooh, let's see if we can get this. Let's see if y'all can see it on the floor. And then, official second book I read, Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This is a good book, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you read Colleen Hoover. I like Colleen Hoover to a certain degree. I don't love her. Some people love her. I have a friend who's pretty obsessed with her, and I would say this book, I don't think is horrible, but I wasn't like engaged. I liked the characters. I liked the trope. It's brother's best friend, and it's about this girl, Tate Collins. She needs to live with her brother as roommates, and then meets his best friend. He's like drunk on his doorway, and that's their first encounter. And he's like that dark, morally gray character, and she's like falling head over heels. And it's not like that I can change him. It's more of the I think he's hot, I want to be, and it's a good book. And this ending was devastating. Like, I didn't cry, but I could understand why people cried. I just don't like. It took me a little bit longer to read it than it did with One of Us is Lying, but it was a good book. And I think months after, I looked at the cover and go, oh my gosh. So I can see I like this book, and I do like reading books by Colleen Hoover. It's just not like another great author like Tahira Moffi or Leah Bardugo or Holly Jackson, where most likely I might even or Lucy Square, I will pre-order their book because I love it so much. Like, she has a good book, I might read it, but I don't find an urge to constantly read her. Now, if you're a beginning reader, I kind of would, but be careful being Colleen Hoover, because there's like a Colleen Hoover wormhole where you don't find interest in other romance books or any other books, but just Colin Hoover. So I would give this maybe like a 4-star, 3.5, but it's still good. Like, I still enjoyed it. Okay, and I think the next book, I don't have it, and it's a Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and when I tell you this is one of the best books I've read, probably until now, it is one of the best books I've read, because it's about a girl named Pip, and about 5 years ago, she's a senior in high school, and she has to do this like project for being a graduating senior. But 5 years ago, there was a murder, and it was Addie Bell, who was dating Sal, and she died, and then the boyfriend killed himself, and they always think that the boyfriend did it, and the boyfriend killed himself because of murdering her. It's been like that. The family has been harassed nonstop. People can't, it's just like, it looks like it was like that. So for a project, she goes up to his Sal's house, but now it's with Ravi, the younger brother. Knocks and goes, "You, Ravi Singh?" And he goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, I'm Pip, and I'm gonna prove that your brother did not, what kind of thing, that your brother didn't commit the murder." And after that, it was probably one of the best books. I liked it. I didn't love it. I loved the second book, which is Good Girl Bad Blood. I loved that one. And I would give this to a genre of, age restriction wise, 14 and up, maybe 13, but it's a lot cursing, honestly, if you're just not into that. I read that book 5 stars. It was probably one of the best books. The twist, Holly Jackson can like make you believe there's a twist, and that you have it in your brain who it is, and then she'll flip it, but it'll make sense, and you'll be like, oh my gosh. Of that last year, it was good, but I was like, it's not like a book I do think about a lot, but it's not like a book, oh my gosh, I want to reread. I still love it though. And the next book I read after that was We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This book. I got it when I got Good Girl's Guide to Murder, when I told you about Jack Edwards and how I fell in love with that. Oh, I read this, page 50, maybe even more, and it's a short book, and I liked it, and I don't think this was a good book as a person who wanted to get into it. Like, I expected romance, mystery. I kind of get like murder mystery literary fiction, because there's a part in this, like, it never gets happier. It's always like sad. And I remember like the last few pages, I skimmed, and the twist happened, and I go, wait, what? And I was so confused. I did not like it. So basically, it's big family. They go to Martha's Vineyard every like summer, and it's just like basically a family thing, and it's just not much to go off of. It's just, I don't know if it was a me thing, I think. I just did not like the writing of it. I maybe give this book 2.5 stars, 3 stars, but thank goodness I did not be like, oh, this book sucks, and never pick up a book again. Thank goodness I took a break, read a different book, and then got re-obsessed. But I honestly, maybe for an older audience, this would be like 16 and plus, which isn't inappropriate. I think it's just a writing style thing. So, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Nothing wrong with the author. I just did not like it. And so after that, what did I read? I think Then after that, I read It Ends With Us by Miss Colleen Hoover yet again. No, there's not a lot of Colleen Hoover in this, but this book, we always know, oh my gosh, it's devastating, and it's regular. And I recommend with this book, do check trigger warnings. It is pretty intense. But I read the back, and it basically told me everything in the story except for what the surprise was. So it's about a girl named Lily. I'm going to be a lot shorter. Lily, hold up. So basically, Lily lives in Maine, and then she moved to Boston and started her own business, and her father passed away, and basically she goes up to this like a random apartment complex and just looks like the edge, and this neurodivergent starts kicking a chair, and his name was Ryle Kinsid, and they fall in love, and then turns out they went on a date, and it turns out her high school lover or high school sweetheart is living in Boston and on this restaurant, and she's like, oh my gosh, like I moved on, blah blah blah. And I'm trying my best not to say much because I want to literally speak so much on this book, but I can't unless I want to spoil it. So I might do like a spoiler review of this book even though I read it. But yeah, this is definitely like a 16 plus, maybe even 18 plus book. Like, trigger warning. And I would say on the trigger warning, it does do a lot of representation on it. So that is it. And I would rate this actually 3.5, 4-star. Everyone's like, this book is amazing. It's a 5-star. I did not feel like that. I felt like it was a 4-star, 3.5 book just because if I didn't enjoy it like maybe everyone else and I thought it was my fault. No, it's not my fault. I did not enjoy the book. And I still liked it. It was just not like obsessed. But I did read it a lot, really fast. So that is it into this. Apparently really big. And then I read, I have it. I think I read, oh yeah, I know I read. Yeah. Then I read The Selection. This is a really good book. I got this back in, I think, July of last year. And it's about a girl in America. And it's, if you think about it, it's like dystopian, but it's not like, I was like, I'm like, oh, it's like the Hunger Games or Maze Runner. No, it's not out like that. That's like high stakes, fancy. This is more like if The Bachelor met dystopian. Now the second one, different story, but back on America, and it's like the class system works like this: 1, you're royal family, and 12, you're poor, you're living on the street. And it's also the occupation you do. So basically it's about a girl named America, and then the Prince Maxon basically with it is, they call it The Selection, where they like select, I think like, I don't know how many girls, I think like 30 girls they pick. And basically it's just, she doesn't want to do it because she's secretly in love with a 6. And now if you marry someone in a man that's like below you, you go into that caste. So like, oh, if I'm a 5 and I want to marry someone who's a 7, I become a 7. Or it's I don't remember how many caste levels, but it's either 12 or 7. And so she gets, I don't know if it's supposed to do this. And then she gets picked for The Selection, and then she meets Max, and and then she starts falling in love. I think this one's more lighthearted, good fantasy, good dystopian. If you want to get YA dystopian and get into that like fantasy dystopian feel, I would totally recommend this book. I loved this book, and I would rate it maybe 4 stars. 4 stars just because it's YA. It's not like, oh, I think about this character every day. Now I look at it, I go, I like this book. I would totally read it again. Maybe reread, but don't have an amazed urge to read it. And it's actually pretty short. It's only 327 pages, so in a good short dystopian YA book, read this. Okay, and the next I read, and this is gonna be really controversial. Normal People by Sally Rooney. I did not like this book. I think it's also a quotation mark thing, and it was very more adult, and it was just, I was not the right audience for this, being I never really experienced it. Maybe I might come back to this and reread it, but it's about, I will tell you. Oh, so Connell and Mary Ann grew up in the same small town, but the similarities end there. To school, Connell, the main male character, super popular, like a football player, I think, well liked, and Marina's a loner. And so, but when the two strike up a conversation, awkward but electrifying, something else changes. Something life-changing begins. And so then once they're at high school, Mariana becomes the popular, well-liked person, and Connell doesn't. And I want to say right now, if you're going to read this author, expect no quotation marks, because there's none in here, and you'll be reading something and you'll be like, oh, it'll just say says, and says character's name, and wait, someone just says something. I feel like with that, and I don't think I was prepared for it, and I did not like the characters that much. But like 2 stars. Just not maybe for me. Maybe I'll come back to it, but not finding a great urge to read this book again. And then I felt like I might not want to read again. I didn't have an urge to read any book. Decided to pick up a cute little YA summer romance book. This summer I Turned Pretty. I love this book. And it's a little tattered. I'm not going to show you because you're going to freak out. So I'm just going to show you the front. It is a girl named Belly, and she goes to this beach house every summer. You probably already know this by now. If not, she goes to this beach house every summer in Cousins Beach, and she's known Susan, Jeremiah, and Conrad. I'm sorry, I just forgot his name. Yeah, and she used to be like, not ugly, but she used to have like glasses and braces and what we call ugly, which is not. You're beautiful the way you are, but she had the inner beauty. What I'm literally explaining this, but I'm about to cut this out. She used to be like a sister to them. There we go. And this summer she turned 16. She has her braces off. She wears contacts. She knows how to do her hair. She knows how to do makeup. She's blossomed. Good way of saying that. And she's loved Conrad her whole life. Like Conrad is just like Conrad. It's like, okay, Bella, you're a little obsessed girl. And then Jeremiah kind of takes up a striking. So you just take their tool. It is a good YA romance. It does get a little sad at the end, I think. And I would totally recommend this for someone who's 13 and older because it's a good romance. You still get romance, you still get that feel, but it's not explicit. So I would totally recommend this to even my sister. I want her to read this soon. I gave it to my cousin. That's not the first book she got into reading, but it was a book that she enjoyed. And good thing when you read this, you can go watch the show because that always keeps me like entertained to finish a book. And the font is huge, like it's huge. So I would rate this honestly 4.5 stars. So this was a good book. Like there's nothing too much to focus on. It was just like easy to read. That's why I rated it 4 stars because 5 stars mean like I think about these characters every day. I love these characters all the time. No, I don't feel like I love them. That's why it's a 4.5 star, but I don't think all the time. So I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, and she also wrote To All the Boys Loved Before. I love that movie. I'm excited. I need to read that book because I love that movie series. Oh my gosh, I think about that too much. So I read that, and then what did I read after that? Ooh, did I read this or hold up? I'm gonna need to read Goodreads, so I'll come back and then find out what I read after that. Okay. It wasn't much help because I think I went back and changed ratings, but I'm just gonna assume. Oh, the one and only Shatter Me by Tara Mafi. It is a YA dystopian. Can you guys repeat? Okay. Can we see? I have a little bit of obsession with YA dystopian. See, I did not hit my YA dystopian. I had my Greek mythology, Percy Jackson. And I'm not going to say mother for what I read and what not read in that because certain things might really upset people. Like I've never read Harry Potter. I have watched the movies. I've listened to maybe half of the audiobook, but that is my goal, to read Harry Potter at least one point in my life. So basically this is about a girl named Juliet, and like I said, government, we hate it. I would say this is kind of like Maze Runner and Hunger Games, but it's not so intense until like maybe halfway through it. It's about Juliet, but every time she touches someone, it's like a fatal, like you will die, like. And she never knew, and her parents did not like her, and she got into the psych ward, and then eventually she gets a roommate, and it's like actually a kid she met in 3rd grade, falls in love with, and gets taken under captured by Warner, and it's just kind of like basically what it is. It's a little slow. I would say it was good, like 3 stars, good dystopian. Read it fairly fast, but nothing that's so special. Like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I think the second one is definitely better. I'm excited for the 3rd one. I need to get that one soon. But I read this 3 stars. I would say if you are 13 and older, read this book. But I wouldn't say this be your first YA dystopian because it's kind of slow. And I might pick up like The Selection or Maze Runner, Hunger Games before we pick up this. But yeah, nothing much to go off of. The heck? Okay, so Charlemagne. Our stack is getting pretty tall, which I'm excited for. Guys, that video went like way longer than I expected, so I think I'm gonna cut it in half because I'm not kidding. It's over an hour and I don't want to put you all through that torture. I care about you. So yes, this is another goodbye. Peace out. Good morning, good night.